Yo, what's up, everyone? It's Nick Can't Mind here, back with another episode of Meet the Taco Plebs. I know I took last week off. I was feeling pretty sick, and I couldn't record, but I'm all better now, and I'm back with a really awesome taco pleb that I've been wanting to interview for a while, Randy McMillian. He's been coming in every week, or pretty much every week, to Bitcoin Kindergarten, the show I do with Optimus Fields, and he's been providing some really good insight, and I knew I just wanted to get him on the show ASAP. So Randy, what's up? Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. So let's just jump right into it. What is your Bitcoin rabbit hole story, and how did you find Bitcoin?
Well, I've been originally, I believe I heard of Bitcoin through Max Kaiser, but so I don't know how long ago that was. And so shout out to Max Kaiser. He's a interesting personality and obviously big presence in the community. So but my fake story is I was walking down the street one day and I tripped over an open dime, and I Googled what an open dime was, and then so that's how I discovered Bitcoin. So anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say, I know Max Kaiser has been so influential to so many different people. I didn't actually know about him until like maybe 2019, which I know might trigger some people, but ever since I've known him on Twitter, I've been like following him and like, watching his content, and I love his videos he's done in the past where like he was getting interviewed by someone for maybe like CNBC, and he was ripping up the dollar bill, and he's talking about how Bitcoiners are going to like buy out the politicians because he said that you can't rip up the dollar. That's a crime. And he was like, do you know how many Bitcoin I have? I can buy any senator or politician I want. And I just love that dude. He is such a character.
He's entertaining, but he's always on point with the fundamentals of Bitcoin. So it's a good thing.
Has there been any people that you learned from in Bitcoin other than Max Kaiser?
I really love Ansel Linder's group. I think he brings a lot of great points and discussion to the table, and I really try to appreciate and internalize some of his economic views in general. So shout out to Ansel. His community and his view is, I value it. So I like Ansel, and and I enjoy the Twitter community. I always appreciate the just all the different personalities and their different perspectives on things. So hopefully I contribute a little bit. So
yeah, I find it honestly quite impressive how much you can learn from bullshitting around with people on Bitcoin Twitter. Like over the course of the past couple years, I've just been talking with and debating people on like Austrian economics and like Bitcoin stuff in general, and it really hit me, and I understood how much you learn on Twitter when I bought The Theory of Money and Credit by Ludwig von Mises. And I was reading, and I got like 100 something pages in, and I was like, I already know a lot of this, and this is like a really good, like, revolutionary book. And it's like people on Twitter, they already know this. They're already up to date on all this. And it's honestly quite impressive, and it's pretty cool, I think.
One point to that I kind of want to interject is that I believe that Bitcoin is founded on logic and reason, and so these different philosophies will automatically have overlap due to, if they're reasoned and sound arguments, then there has to be overlap. And so I don't necessarily get just kind of pigeonhole my personal philosophy, but that's the one thing that I like to recognize, is that sound, reasoned, logical arguments when it comes to economics or anything is always going to have overlap with other philosophies. And so I think that that's what a lot of people are recognizing when it comes to Austrian economics, is the underlying logic and reason that they're both based on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Moving on to the next question is, a lot of people have changed throughout Bitcoin. Like, I know I'm a completely different person from, pre-coiner Nick to Nick now. And I know a lot of other people feel the same way. But from when you got into Bitcoin till now, have you noticed any noticeable changes in yourself? And if so, what are they?
Basically, I've always been kind of a penny pincher. And so lately I just kind of have been calling myself a sat pincher as well. And, the point is we still have to function in a fiat-based world. But I believe part of the transformation in consciousness is that we're also participating in a parallel system that is priced in sats. And so, as I walk around and spend, spend regular money and this kind of stuff, I also am conscious basically of how many sats I'm spending on this particular item. And so I think that a lot of people are really starting to do that, where they're they have to think in fiat, but they also think, where is this money going? And could I just be accumulating more Satoshis and, storing my value and wealth? And so there's a parallel motivation. It's like, do I need to buy this thing? Do I, and so I'm glad that there's an option. I really believe that, the fundamental thing that Bitcoin offers is just an option. We saw that article recently with some German finance lady, and that was one of her points was, if there's an option, they're going to take it. And it's just, the way that whole thing was framed, I was just like, wow, these people do not want you to have an option. And so I'm grateful that there's an option, and I'm glad people are seeing the value in that, opt out, and opt into Bitcoin. So.
Oh yeah, that was kind of worrying when I saw it. She was saying that if the people have an exit, they will use it. And it's like, well, why would people want to use an exit unless you're doing something that, the people don't agree with? And it's a totally fucked up situation. And I wanted to go back and comment on, I like how you made sats your unit of account. You're already walking around, you see things through that orange lens, and you don't see that bottle of water as $1.99. You see it as, however many sats, the equivalent of how many sats it is. And I think that's really good. I know I've started doing that as well. I know a lot of other Bitcoiners have started doing that, and it kind of makes you rethink on some purchases. Like, man, Bitcoin was at 20K or below 20K like a month or two ago, and it could be a lot higher a month or two from now. And it's like, do I really need this? Whatever, you pick up something, you're like, do I even need this? Or should I just take the sats? And it's not a lot in dollars terms, but it is a lot in sat terms. And you tend to put things back down and not buy it anymore.
Right. And even one of the points that I recently tweeted was, because we can get into the Clubhouse thing too, but there was a discussion on there, and, there's a lot of like investment talk and all this stuff, and real estate came up, and I posted on Twitter, like, a house isn't a store of value because it's perishable. I mean, it might be a long tail and you can do maintenance and all that stuff, but it's still a perishable good at the end of the day. And so houses should not be viewed as a store of value, where a Satoshi existing, in the Bitcoin network is non-perishable. It'll persist over time, and that's kind of a simplification of some of these other arguments about store of value, and the Saylor argument of the battery and all this thermodynamic energy store of value kind of stuff. But I like a simpler kind of analogy for people too. I think it's good. So
I'm curious. I've never been on Clubhouse before. What's it like over there? Can you explain a little bit more about it?
Yeah, there's a lot of good content and discussion, but unfortunately there's a lot of misinformation as well. So that is a concern, because a lot of people are flocking to it, and unfortunately there's a lot of disinformation agents, basically. Even last night, and let me just throw this out here real quick, is what's going on over there is there's a lot of people that are into like DeFi and all this stuff, and so they come into these rooms and they'll kind of just play along, and oh, I'm a Bitcoiner and blah blah blah, and then what happens is a couple of them get in there, and then they hijack the whole discussion, and then it just degrades into some kind of like DeFi show. And so I just want to kind of warn against that. Is there are people trying to hijack these conversations to shill some kind of altcoin or DeFi and all this stuff. And so I'm concerned about new people, because they're sincerely looking for valid information, and there's definitely people taking advantage of that. So
Yeah, that I've seen a bunch of tweets on Twitter about people arguing with DeFi people, and I saw Brecky make a video of it. I don't know if you saw this impression video, but he made a video of him like acting like a DeFi person, shilling Ethereum, and it was really fucking funny.
that's exactly what's going on, man. It's a tactic. It's a coordinated thing going on over there. So be warned. Be warned.
So let's not talk about shit coins. Let's talk right back to Bitcoin. I want to know what the most amazing thing, and what do you find most fascinating about Bitcoin out of any aspect of it?
Well, okay. So and this is really cool, because a lot of people are talking about how Bitcoin relates to time. And so, an important point is, in any civilization, money and timekeeping are at the heart of it. And that's how there's fundamental communication and allocation of resources. And they also have a timekeeping system to coordinate into the future and all that stuff. And so Bitcoin meets both of those needs. And that is part of that argument of Bitcoin is creating a parallel civilization. Yes, we see it as a parallel financial system, but I believe that an alternate timekeeping system, other than the Gregorian calendar and that kind of stuff, is important to help reorient, human consciousness to something else. And so more than money, I really believe that the timekeeping aspect of Bitcoin will be a catalyst for more human consciousness, where we can break away from the anchor that, okay, think about it this way. There's plenty of discussion about fiat money, but I say we have also been operating under fiat time by dictate. And so, like, we can kind of get a little cosmic about it, but I really believe that reorientation to something other than time by fiat or time by dictate is going to help us break away from this anchor that is very, subliminal. It's very, whatever word you want to use, cunning. It's a very cunning and pervasive part of our identities. Think about it. Like, everybody celebrates their birthday from a very early age, and so their identity is pinned to a time and place based on this fiat time keeping system. And so, like I said, it might be a little cosmic, but you think about it this way: children being born today can also relate their birth date to block time. They can say, I was born during this block time, and so there's an option again, where Bitcoin offers an option to relate ourselves to something else other than these fiat systems.
I that is a very good way of looking at it. I don't know too many people that have looked at it like that. I mean, I've heard some people say, like, oh, in the future we'll say, like, oh, I bought my car at block, 6,000 something or whatever. And people will, I've heard like Ben the Carmen and I think maybe Matt Odell talk about stuff like this. So like, we will move away from, this fiat way of keeping track of time. And it is very cosmic, and I like it. I'm interested in it, and I'm curious to see how it works out in the future and if it sticks with people. I definitely think, like, I'd be curious to see how that plays out,
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm hopeful for the future because of these options that we have. So.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree, dude. Moving on to my next question is, just like you were mentioning in Clubhouse, there's people who are shilling DeFi, shilling shitcoins. They're trying to take advantage of new coiners and people just now coming into the space. How would you advise someone who's brand new to learn about Bitcoin? Do you have any favorite podcasts, any articles or books, or what do you normally do?
Yes. I really want to give a shout out to Matt Odell. I think that he is, very sincere, and he does a very good job at putting out correct information. And so, that's important to, if somebody asks me, I usually point them to Tales from the Crypt, because I really believe that they strive to put out correct information, and to help somebody new to just cut through all the noise and disinformation is a great start. And so I like Matt Odell. I like his ethics and motivations.
Mm-hmm. I talk with Matt pretty often. He's a great dude.
Yeah, and he has the Citadel Dispatch, and so that's like a kind of a more casual flavor on the Bitcoin discussion. And so, the stuff they're doing over there is cool, and there's a lot, but that one comes to mind. So
I'm bullish on Bitcoiners.
And just to mention some specific, Stefan Livera recently did a interview with Jonas Schnelli about Bitcoin development. I thought that was a great episode. And I think that a lot of people might not realize that they have something to contribute. And you don't necessarily need to be a hardcore like a C++, blah, blah, blah developer to contribute to the discussion. And, there's Bitcoin touches, so many different disciplines. And so I would just urge people that have an interest to think about how their current skill sets, whatever they are, can be used to contribute to the Bitcoin quote unquote ecosystem. And so I think that that's great.
Yeah, and I wanted to touch on that because I think that's really important because everyone has something to contribute to Bitcoin. Like, you don't have to be some C++ programmer. You don't have to like do anything extraordinary. Like, even if it's just something as buying and holding Bitcoin, helping out the hodlers, contributing to the discussions, like that makes a big impact. Like, I don't do anything special. I just talk, shit post with the plebs and buy Bitcoin, And like, I remember I met Justin Moon, who's a Bitcoin core developer at BitBlock Boom, and we had this discussion about it, and he was telling me, he was like, dude, like, the plebs, like the everyday people who are just talking about Bitcoin and like promoting it and buying it, like, they're just as important as like the people working on it. And I think that a lot of people may not realize that or underestimate their power and their influence in Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's a synergy. And, on this kind of altruism idea, there's, people are contributing in any way they can. And that's the power, I really believe, is, these motivated people, and they have good motives, and they're trying to contribute to something. I mean, that's the power of like just humanity, is when we can come together and agree upon something, and back to like the whole timekeeping and all this stuff, is it's great to have something in the world that we can all agree upon, and it's indisputable mathematically. I think there's something to that has more power than just, oh, it's Bitcoin and blah, blah, blah. Like, we need more sources of truth as quote unquote, like these anchors. We need to be able to anchor to things that are, sound and truthful. And I think the existence of something like this will have, cascading and tertiary effects on society and consciousness in some way. So
I think that was I think that was wonderfully put. So moving into my last question is, what are you most bullish for moving forward in Bitcoin? Do you see anything that has caught your eye, or is there anything that you're hoping gets built?
Well, I mean, one thing that I'm working on, and maybe I can use this as a shameless plug, is, like, I've had plenty of experience in like mobile development and all this stuff. And so it's a pretty ambitious idea, but one of my things that I'm kind of focusing on is actually creating a verbal interface with a language. It's called Lojban. It's a synthetic, basically kind of logical language, and I'm kind of being ambitious about it, but I really believe that we can actually create a verbal interface to like verbally construct Bitcoin transactions. And the underlying motivation is actually to hopefully create an interface for visually impaired people. That's the underlying motive. But I suspect that if it is possible and it does get built, it'll just, be usable by anybody. But the use case is visual impairment, because I mean, how do you interact? And with some kind of security. Like the argument is sure, there's plenty of accessibility technology out there now. The problem is how can a visually impaired person enjoy a level of sovereignty and security, the same as somebody that can easily see what they're doing. And so that's, like I said, probably a pretty ambitious kind of goal, but I don't know. That's the kind of stuff that I like to think about. So,
No, that sounds awesome. How'd you get the idea for that?
Well, just like in mobile development in general, you always have to be thinking about accessibility, like like we kind of take the whole touch screen for granted. But, I remember when the iPhone came out, I mean, the idea of just being able to interact with a web interface or, an application by touching it was, so I've always paid attention to accessibility when it comes to mobile development. And so it's always kind of been there. And so I was just thinking, it kind of just, came to me one day, like, what if we're able to expand the accessibility of Bitcoin and, to help people like this that have, other kinds of issues that we just kind of take for granted, we take for granted the fact that we can visually check an address. And so like these challenges can be devastating to somebody. And so that's the underlying motive is, hopefully visually impaired people can enjoy Bitcoin and transact with confidence, just like people that can see their wallet. So.
That's awesome, dude. I'm going to be looking forward to that and seeing you build that out.
Yeah, like I said, it's real preliminary. But like I said, I'm investigating language itself. We need unambiguous language that, Bitcoin is very concise. And so, this ambitious goal is going to have to use something that is just as concise and unambiguous to, like I said, it's a little cosmic, but, my plans, I'm hopeful for this year. My plans are to maybe even create some kind of like nonprofit so that companies are more motivated to donate to it. And some of this hardware is very expensive. I mean, a Braille monitor is approximately like $7,000. And so that actually gets back. There are a couple sponsors already that I'm grateful for. And, that just really motivates me because it makes me realize that people are, care about this besides me. It's not just some weird, like fringy kind of like idea. So when a couple people started contributing to this, it kind of made me realize like, it's not a crazy idea. And, people are concerned about this. So that's awesome, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, dude, we'll be right behind you, supporting you in that. So we've come to the end of the interview, and I really want to thank you for coming on and sharing your thoughts for everyone. Do you have any last words for the audience before we head out?
Yeah. Secure your ticket on the life raft first. I've just heard so much like talk of speculation and all these crazy different things. And it's just like, I don't care, where you are in your, socioeconomic, like wherever you are in that, just secure your ticket on the life raft first. And then if you just really have to like speculate, that should be secondary to accumulating your ticket on the life raft. And what else? Yeah, just I think it's what is it? Bitcoin dev list. if you've enjoyed some profits and gains and whatever, and, go over there and contribute to Bitcoin development directly, buy somebody a cup of coffee or whatever, so that's what I would say.
Awesome, dude. Well, I want to thank you for coming on. And if you made it to the end of this podcast or video, whichever platform you're listening on, if you're on YouTube, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And then if you're on the podcasting app, just give us a rate. I really appreciate it, and it helped me out immensely. So I want to thank you all for listening, and I'll be back next week with a brand new guest. Peace.
Hold on to the pavements. Hate me, love me, for grateful recognition. Her demands like